Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms. You can now take your post.
Happy Halloween. Tonight's episode 10/23/22. In studio tonight, a very special guest, Senator Mark Curran. Been on the show a couple times. We're going to talk, you know what? I don't know what we're going to talk about. What's the topic? Only God knows tonight's topic. So let's roll these dice and see what happens and see what Mark wants to discuss. What's going on out in the world and how he sees them tonight. Stand by for Hutcast, because we'll be right back with Mark Curran, Senator Mark Curran. The current healthcare system is not meeting the needs of real people. People are demanding better care, better options, and want results. So Graith Care has launched and is advocating for those in the U.S. and internationally, as people are realizing the controlled system has not been there for them. If you want your own independent advocate that is not controlled by big corporations, call or text and enroll today to get your advocate for your needs, serving all ages. For any healthcare need you might have, you matter. Here's how you get started. www.graithcare.com, GRAITHCARE.com. Call Graith Care Direct 1-469-864-7149. Call or text a question to Healthcare Sucks and get an advocate with Graith Care. 1-469-864-7149. Mention Hutcast and you'll get a 10% discount on your advocacy bundle. And the staff at Graith Care will take care of you. Remember to mention Hutcast, get that extra 10% off your first bundle of time. And this is all brought to you from Graith Care. Mark Curran is in the studio and he's going to give us some heads up. Mark, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I appreciate you being here. You know, I told everybody in Pure I have no idea where we're going with this. So, you know what? I'm going to volley two and let it go your way. So what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think one of the things of the economy, right? When you look at what's important outside of the headlines, what fuels the economy, and then how does the state legislature and the governor and all of the elected officials play into it? I think today, one of the conversations should be about what's going to be that long-term driving issue, which will continue to increase our costs and maybe constrain our ability to grow businesses in Minnesota, as well as maybe heat your home and put fuel in your car.
Okay, so how do you want to format this?
Well, I think if we just look at the race, we got less than 3 weeks.
Okay, Jensen, and you know who? I don't want to even say his name.
Yeah. Well, I think you mean the Green New Deal guy. I think that's what, or he's been known as kind of a vindictive, retaliatory tyrant if people don't comply.
Going for the blood, huh?
Yeah, and but when you look at it, the difference in the policies, and it really mirrors the national policies in which he's adopted, and think about what harm they're doing to the middle income and low income people in Minnesota.
Right.
And its impact on the cost of doing business in Minnesota. So
very, very much so, yes.
Think about what their plan is today. They agree with the Green New Deal. They agree we should get rid of natural gas, fossil fuel, right? Their term, fossil fuel.
Fossils, yeah.
And from an energy plan, right? They want all coal gone. And we can get to transition, right? Everybody wants cleaner, better, affordable, reliable power source.
Which two do you want?
Yeah, well, we have to have all of the above, and to not be able to remove the nuclear moratorium, which we have, those are the policies they agree on. Well, just think about the energy plan today. They want to eliminate coal. Today, coal powers millions of our homes.
Yeah, it's kind of a primary.
It is. And then natural gas, of course, is clean. But when you talk to them, they agree with the same policy. They want those natural gas and coal gone. And we just can't sustain that. And so then you look at the underlying policies of what the Walz administration has done. They want to bring to the average home, they want to force you or dictate under the guise of that we're going to have cleaner air by moving to electric vehicles.
Yeah, but it's made by coal.
Frankly, I don't know a single policy that California has implemented that I would care to mirror ever. We've seen what their future is because California has implemented it. And we can't subject our middle income families, our hardworking families, nor our businesses to those types of policies, which will drive our energy prices, through the ceiling, through the roof, and really threaten the reliability of our grid.
And people have to remember that when they vote for people, those are the guys making and setting policies.
Yeah. And even worse, under this administration, they're writing law without the legislature. And so when you remove the legislature, they remove your voice in this rulemaking process, in the legislative process.
Okay.
And so let's just talk about the adoption of the California Clean Cars or California's plan to destroy energy and economic viability. Is the first step is clean cars. So they want to do clean cars. So you want to transfer, the carbon footprint to a power plant instead of, through a petroleum-based product.
Petroleum footprint to a carbon.
Yes.
Because coal is carbon.
Yes. And remember, based on our governor and our president, it's still okay to pollute as long as you pay more. You pay the government more. So it's never been about actually making cleaner air based on the policies because they haven't changed anything. But the California Clean Cars proposal, which they put in under rulemaking without the citizen input and without the legislature input, would require or will require auto dealers and manufacturers to they're going to dictate what percentage of vehicles you must sell that are electric.
Efficient.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been doing that for years, decades.
Well, and now they've adopted it. And so, think about the operation model of this. They're going to dictate to Ford Motor Company that you have to sell 7% of your vehicles must be electric. And I don't know how you force somebody to buy a product that they're not interested in at that point in their life or their lifestyle doesn't accommodate it. And in that model, again, it's okay. They don't really care how many you sell because what they will do if you don't achieve that objective, you will be then assessed an additional tax for not meeting that objective. Mm-hmm. Then that tax will, of course, be passed on to all of those who buy a non-compliant vehicle.
Called CAFE.
Yeah.
Corporate Average Fuel Economy.
Yep.
Been out there for years, started in the 80s, late 70s, and when they started PCVs and emissions.
Yeah, and I don't know, Tim, but have you met anybody who doesn't want a great performing, good looking, affordable car that gets the best mileage possible? I haven't met a person yet who doesn't want that. And so the market has been moving in that direction, and we need to make sure that it stays, the free market will dictate it, and the infrastructure may follow.
Market always drives the cost of things, the where things go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but it gets worse. So think about California following their policies is one thing. In this particular case, I have little trust in government on the policy side. Is our dealers are going to be required to report to California, because it's not just adopting their policies. California is going to be the ones assisting in the compliance and the regulatory piece. I don't trust them receiving the private. To me, it's proprietary information on my vehicle sales and types of vehicles.
Right. Where'd you hear that?
What do you mean?
California's going to be taking control of this.
No, that's how it's implemented. That's how it will be implemented.
Okay.
And that's what most have no idea. It's And if we deemed a policy or anything that we decide to do, we should be the managers of that program. But in this case, it will be California. And again, another thing, I don't believe California does anything well enough or better than anything we would do if we adopted the policy.
Right.
So then think about, all right, the vehicle, your vehicle of choice, and look what it's going to do. Build a massive network of vehicles that are limited in their mobility. Many lifestyles can accommodate it. Great, awesome, more power to them. Infrastructure will come, and those things are being built out to make it better. But I think our car is as much of the American culture or a component of our American culture than anything we do. The ability to move freely at will, go anywhere you want with in the vehicle with the people you love, namely yourself. But there's that mobility and the autonomy to do whatever you want. And today, with a 5-minute refuel, I can drive border to border and not stop except for 5-minute refueling and some fuel for the human driving. Those are things. Those are big cultural changes, and none of those will change fast. And they certainly aren't going to change just because somebody gave an edict that we're going to try to force somebody to buy a product that they're not interested in.
Back to forcing us their way is the only way.
Yeah. And I think that, at the end of the day, I think we'll end up with a clean fuel source, as we all have a desire, reliable fuel source, and it will likely be hydrogen, but it's going to be decades before that transition occurs.
Oddly enough, I have a patent on hydrogen.
Excellent. I was just at the the Prairie Island nuke plant, and they got a great hydrogen pilot going on right now. So we're excited to see where that goes.
Are they extracting from propane?
They were doing excess energy production, and they've got these extractors. I don't think it was
taking off the stack.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then using the excess capacity, because when they dial down, it's just as it doesn't cost them anymore to keep those things running at 100%, but to divert the excess energy into
production of hydrogen.
Yeah,
so they're using a Brown's HHO gas.
Yeah, so that's cool. Those things are coming, and that technology will emerge, and again, we'll end up with a better product. So then you move on to, let's think about, they'll just move into another California policy. So right now they're starting the process of adopting California's fuel standards. Mm-hmm. So what does that do for the average citizen? Not just the fuel standards, but I guess I got to step back a bit. If we didn't have one seat in the Minnesota Senate for 6 years, our gas taxes between the proposals of Dayton and Walz and these fuel standards, Minnesota's portion of a gallon of gas today is 28 cents. It would be near or in excess of $1 today. How does that help the average working family? How does that bring businesses and jobs and a healthy economy into Minnesota? It doesn't. And so the adaptation of the California fuel standards, so to create more boutique fuels, which further constrains our ability to have a reliable, affordable product for all of our consumers in Minnesota, especially in transition seasons, right? We have a winter-summer fuel. When you don't have the ability to use multiple refineries and regionally, those costs are further exacerbated. So that would add another 30, 40 cents a gallon, kind of moving into that dollar extra for our consumers in Minnesota. Those are all fundamental changes, and they would be permanent long-term changes in hammering the average budget. Those things are great challenges. Then, if you think about, they've done a great job at wanting to follow California. California also throws on a 14 cents a carbon tax, right? Just pay more to use the unapproved or their unauthorized, unapproved,
unsanctioned fuel.
Yes, and so no doubt they would have moved into that. If you would have passed, they would have let the gas taxes in the Dayton years and then enhanced it from the Walz years. And Walz's proposal, I think, and the gas tax too, was also not just a per gallon increase, a direct increase, but an annual inflator. So your gas tax would go up from a Minnesota portion every single year. And I think I checked California's fuel tax last year went up 5.6%. So throw another nickel, throw another 6 or 7 cents per gallon.
It's only money, right?
Yeah, and then to do that on a continuous basis really adds up. So those policies will lead to those hard costs for real families, and those are crushing to the middle income.
Just keep nicking, don't they?
Yeah, and that's just one element of their energy plan. Then when you look at the energy plan on overall energy, moving to wind and solar and the over-dependent or over-reliance on it without good dispatchable, right? Things you can turn on and use and burn clean, right?
Reliable, dependable.
Yeah, and affordable. So if you remember, we're in a grid that covers 15 states, 42 million households. Xcel Energy is going to get rid of their coal energy in the next 6 years. And so they will have a huge portion of theirs. They're going to switch to wind and solar, which puts more reliability challenges on our grid that serves our community. And if you remember, there was a snowstorm, or I don't know, I don't think they called it a polar vortex, but the cold front that hit Texas.
Yes. How'd that work?
When this over-reliance of non-dispatchable power, when you have interruptions at things that do occur, and when you can't turn on, you built all this infrastructure, which can't be turned on, and no battery storage exists to even think about
that kind of consumption.
And to be able to afford to power it, to charge them in the first place, to have excess energy to charge batteries doesn't exist, and so it's kind of a compounding problem. But when the energy experts, when we talked to them a year ago, February, when the cold snap hit, right? It was devastating for the regional areas which lost power, but it was only our grid only survived because of every small city that has diesel generator backups, but we were within 10 minutes of that grid coming down. Our grid, which covers southern Canada and northern Texas, and if it would have went down, that's everybody saying, "Oh, okay, well, it just goes down, turn it back on." It would take over a month to bring most of those portions up.
So I tell everybody to prep. Be a prepper.
Yeah.
Have fuel, have a generator. Not that I'm turning this into a prepping show, but come on, guys.
Well, but let's go back to, that's what Californians have done, right? When you implement those policies, now every home has a generator. What did they just outlaw? They outlawed natural gas to new home construction. So you can't put a natural gas generator in. You can't cook and heat as an alternative or have a diverse set of energy resources. And they've outlawed combustion engines, these generators.
Yeah, how can they outlaw combustion engines? That's ludicrous.
It is, but
they build combustion engines in California.
They see no limit in their desire to implement under totalitarian control under the guise of
so it's cannon fodder,
impacting the climate. Yes,
means nothing. It's lipstick on a pig.
Correct. But what does it do? Drives the cost up dramatically.
Oh, certainly.
And again, they have the rolling brownouts and blackouts are now a norm. They just, that's why they need generators. And then to eliminate or to try and make them illegal as well. So those are the types of policies. And we think about here, the power companies, they make as much money today as on building infrastructure, wind or solar. They don't care. They're there to make profit. And so to build energy infrastructure and to not have it being able to produce when we need it on demand is crazy.
I'm kind of a fission guy.
I'm excited. The one thing I did, I went and toured the Prairie Island nuke plant, and the good news is it's an amazing modern facility. The controls and all those things, and they are going to be the operator for some of these new small cell nukes.
Okay.
And they're investing in them, and so that's exciting. So hopefully we can get beyond that and realize we can have really good, safe, reliable power, distributed power generation and distribution locally with small cell nuclear. And
what people don't understand though is fission reaction is not burn the fuel and that's what makes your deal. I mean, it's a steam plant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's physically a steam plant.
Yep.
So whether you make coal with it or nuclear or wood, wouldn't matter as long as it made heat and steam. That's what spins the turbines.
Yep. Yep.
Pretty simple concept.
There isn't a power source out there. The fuel source isn't turning a generator, right?
Well, there's Niagara Falls.
Yeah, right. Outside. Well, and in hydro, remember, we don't have that classified as renewable here. So we're not buying good, reliable, affordable hydro. We're replacing it with really expensive, intermittent solar. So
right. And last I checked, Biden didn't send any wind solar plants or generators down to Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of a joke on Hatebook for a while, but it's like, you got a point.
Yeah, but you get back to really, well, how does that impact the average family? It really bakes in and really is a massive contributing factor to the inflation we're seeing today. Power is our lifeblood.
Yep. The country runs on oil.
Or it does. We consume 20 million barrels a day. The world consumes 100 million barrels a day. And when you have our administration here in Minnesota walking lockstep with the federal administration that says we are going to eliminate you as an industry, and I welcome anybody who wants to practice that. I wish they would walk the talk today.
Okay.
And live without any product as a derivative of a petroleum or natural gas product. So I wish they would do that. And I think there's a show on TV that actually kind of depicts what that lifestyle would be. It's called Naked and Afraid. and I would say you'd be naked, afraid, and really, really hungry.
Dude, don't tell me to watch that.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, man.
To me, it's one of those people are crazy.
You just, what's there to watch?
And there's no cash reward for it. They don't get any cash. It's not like a contest. You win $100,000. But you'd like to understand, is there, how real is that reality TV? But the environments that they live through, they're crazy. I don't think I'd last a couple days in some of those. But
we are 19 and 36 into this section. What do you say we skip for a commercial, let the kids take a pee, and then we talk about what? Jensen?
Yeah, well, we can talk about tax policies. No, we probably should talk about safety and security.
You don't want to talk about Jensen?
And then we'll finish up with Jensen. Well, okay. I think Jensen, I think that the tide is turning and we're going to get the best opportunity.
Oh, baby. That's what we're talking about. Okay, Hutcast. We're going to take 5, and then we'll come back and talk about the other things. So stand by. Buying a gun is no ordinary purchase. Whether you're a hunter, competitive shooter, or self-defense is your priority, there are many kinds of guns and many kinds of training programs. You use your brain all the time. You will rarely need to use your gun. Before you find yourself in a situation where you need to make a critical decision, make sure your training is the best you can get. It could be the difference between life and death, or freedom or detention. For the best quality training, check out permittocarry.us. If you live in Minnesota or Wisconsin or even Florida, give Gene German a call, 612-388-2403. That's Permit to Carry US. Or call Gene German at 612-388-2403. Back at you with Senator Mark Coran, Minnesota. The guy who's in the know. Let's take the next part. Go for it.
Yeah, we're rolling. Remember, we're less than 3 weeks from November 8th, which is the election. It'll be transformational, as all elections are important. But I think the threats to the things that make this the greatest country in the world, the threats are far and many. So I think when you look at the core things that impact people today, we think about public safety.
PSEs, yep.
So think about the policies. How did we get here? And I think, wherever you are in the state, people know it, hear it, feel it, and feel less safe in their homes. When you go to St. Paul and Minneapolis, those residents feel really, really challenged to be able to let their kids run out and play in their yard, be able to take our public transportation system, which is a vital resource, which nobody feels safe moving on. How did we get here? Well, we got here from the very same policies that created safe operating environment for lawlessness.
A little bit of Ellis there, I'm smelling.
I'd start with the governors. So think about we've had 12 years of Democrat governors. how many times have you seen a governor in the past call out for the non-prosecution of criminals? A lot in the last 12 years. And so think about the things that they've done. And this is again, another belief system, right? We need criminal justice reform, and all under the guise of not prosecuting criminals, especially violent criminals. Mm-hmm. Do we want the average person, for a petty crime to be tied up in it? No, we don't. Do we want people to be given a chance and restorative justice? Yes, we do. And those things exist today. But to think about, we have a system. There's a few things that keep this country together, right? Is a constitution, the belief in that constitution, the belief in a common set of rules and laws, mm-hmm. and the enforcement of those laws. Any one of those things that we no longer cherish, or we've moved away from trying to live up to those values, really puts our society at great risk. And certainly when we talk about non-prosecution, non-enforcement, no consequences for some of the most egregious crimes that have occurred in the history of the country.
Yeah, but you said it. You said the magic words, values, set of values.
Yeah.
We took God out of the classroom. We took God out of the country. We took everything's out of God, and all of a sudden we have. And not that I'm a completely religious guy, but I do have a prior belief. When you take that out, they don't have any data. They're godless, so which makes it lawless. Stand in line.
And then you just talk about the human condition and the human nature, right? I mean, we all have to thrive and think about man itself. Man is inherently evil, right? The things we mentioned before are what keep us in. Well, certainly the greatest experiment in the country to try and live up to the values of what the Constitution lays out is amazing, and we've done a good job, but. We've been on a path for the last 12 years. So you look at the elements of what they've done. It started in the Obama years, right? The Dayton Obama years. And you think about the devaluation of our law enforcement officers, the degradation and all of those things. And they're under assault. So they talk about it, looks in defunding. They've defunded, they pulled them out. They talk about they just, a week ago, tomorrow, the newspaper article said that we can no longer name the 54 colleges which teach law enforcement. We can no longer use the term law enforcement.
Let me stop you there. So I did a show a while back with this new guy they put on Minneapolis mayor. He hired this guy.
Oh yeah, the czar, the scapegoat for all of his failures.
Yes. They hired this dude. What was 400, 700?
300 salary alone.
Okay. And he comes in and he's going to say, I'm going to take control of the cops, the fire, and the people that come out and hold your hand when you're upset.
Yeah.
And this guy, I don't know if he hasn't seen it or if the money's good enough, or, the big thing was I'm on my boat and he calls me up and says, hey, I need some saving. I saved my city. Well, what have you been doing in the meantime?
Delegated the authority to somebody who doesn't live here.
Yes.
And have any experience. And it really is a scapegoat. So what did they do? We just decided to create what the referendum to eliminate the police department. They just did administratively through a shift of power and granted the power to some unelected official.
Do we need a police chief now?
Yeah. Well, no. Police might be an offensive term to them, Tim. So don't use police. But think about that. In every way, shape, and form, they've accomplished their goals. But they can talk about. Well, we didn't defund, and certainly. Let's talk about Governor Walz. Governor Walz, right? He wants to fund the police officers. That is such a crock. Everywhere we fought to fund the police department, or law officers, try to keep those that are there. Right? There's a whole bunch of 50-plus-year-olds that we're trying to keep for 5 years. We're trying to put more recruitment. Those things are needed, but when you look at what's happening to them in our key areas in the metro area, the degradation or devaluation of their mere existence and the lack of support in those environments is devastating. And to get out of that, it's going to take a long time. But as a direct result, they're taunting our police officers out there. And I've done the ride-alongs. You've done a ride-along? Oh my God.
Yeah, but my ride-alongs weren't. Not in Minneapolis. I mean, it's a suburb country of.
I did East Side overnight. Full shift. St. Paul, and you realize what they're doing, and the professionalism in that industry, the fact that they don't have more issues because of the
PTSD.
harassment. The harassment with every call. The people who call them for help, calling them every name in the book. They got a phone shoved in their face. And on our officers of colors, the black officers, brown, they are tormented in all night long. It's disgusting. And so now they're taunted even more. And so how are you, people think, well, that's just St. Paul, Minneapolis. Well, St. Paul and Minneapolis matter, right? I got family. I was born and raised there. They matter.
Yep.
The vibrancy of those two cities is critical for the survival
Everything,
for the entire state.
Yep.
And so you then see what they're doing, and at the same time, right, they got rid of Bob Kroll. Bob Kroll's the boogeyman. And it's like, guys, our police officers, we want good. We want upstanding officers, right? If there's a bad egg, they want to get rid of them as bad as anybody else, and they should do that. But think about the hiring policies. Minneapolis has been known and already, I think, documented where they've lowered the standards.
Yes, they have.
We cannot afford to lower standards for those officers.
I know some TOs.
Yeah.
And when the gal was running it, she said,
Janae Harto.
Yes. Yep. She says to this guy who's teaching this, who shot the girl in the alley. What was her name?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, across the partner's face.
Yes. Yep.
And he was Somalian.
Yep.
And she says, you know what? Handle this guy. My buddy says he's untrainable.
Right.
They just can't handle the kind of stress that we deal with.
Right.
And she says, you deal with this, or I'll find someone else who will.
Right.
And you will be without a job.
And it was a disservice to him.
Yes, it was.
It was a disservice to him to put him in that position. And then I know a few people too, and my understanding is he failed all the field training, right? The FTOs, he failed it.
Yes.
They
I know his
him,
TO. I could get him on the phone and say, look, but I don't think he would talk.
They rushed his training through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did they require him to have all the same education that everybody else had up to that point? Not sure. Did he pass the psychological exam, which is a must?
They lowered it,
right? And so to lower the standards, which is really in their words and in the reality is, it's extremely racist to say that we're going to have to lower standards, that you're unable to live up to high standards, which is
you know how I feel about race,
racist.
man. We had this conversation.
Yeah, it's
we can't be racist.
No,
you, me, black guys, white guys, yellow guys, because we're all part of a race called human.
Yep, I agree. And for their overt policies to say that, well, we're going to have to lower them. Well, here's the reality. There's only way they're going to be able to get bodies, right, is to lower the standards. And that's what their goal is. But they also not only want to lower the standards, they want only people who they want amazing diversity, just no diversity of thought in all of these government entities. Right?
Yeah.
Because they're okay with the police force as long as it acts against its own people. Right? From a political perspective, as we've seen all over the place. And so what do we do? And unfortunately, kind of rural Minnesota says, it's just St. Paul, Minneapolis. No, it's the entire law enforcement industry. Go into my community, which is rural. They have a job posting. You'd have 20, 30 people apply. Now they get one or two. And that doesn't mean they're one or two qualified. So you get one or two that apply. Yeah, and so the entire law enforcement food chain of recruitment and fulfillment and retirement, all those things, it's been hammered. They achieved their goals in many ways, and they're not going to stop. So now we talk about, right? You can't name the training facilities, law enforcement training facilities. And that's probably the benign element of the change. And so what the rest of it is kind of what we've seen in the teachers, the Pelsby, the school board licensing, is that you now must take the pledge, right? There's a set of criteria that they're out there, and to be an overt anti-racist, right? And all these other crazy things that have nothing to do with the job. And that's now the litmus test to have a public job and any job where the government control the licensing of those jobs.
Sure.
And so those are problematic. And to me,
Met Council,
all of them. And when you look at it, that's now you have to be an anti-racist racist, imposing a kinder, gentler form of oppression. But it's a government forced or encouraged set of racist policies. It's disgusting. And so at some point we got to get back to the character of who we are.
Common sense,
and
right?
Set high standards, right? And hold everybody up to those standards. But now we go into the law enforcement side, and let's go back to what the governors had of choice. How did the governors impact this lawlessness? Well, they've certainly encouraged. How many times did our governor, president, and governors accuse our law enforcement without any evidence?
Sure, right.
In the degradation of them through the riots, how they failed to support them, all of those things.
Yeah, we all watched that on TV.
Yeah, but then, so we see that, right? They're doing the job. They can arrest everybody they want, and they're doing that. But they're not supported. Yeah, so that affects them. But then let's look at the other policies. The people who worked really hard to get attorney generals who believe that we should get rid of police. We're going to have hug therapists on every corner. We're going to stop violent crime.
When do we start that?
Yeah, decades ago. And so they've created an environment now. Think about county prosecutors. How many outside dollars came in to influence our county prosecutor elections, our judicial appointments? So think about 12 years of no balance. Now, judges should be nonpartisan. We have this Constitution.
Right.
I'm not sure some of them can spell Constitution. But look what they've done. They've put politically active judges between Walls and Dayton. Is it 90+% of the judges now have been appointed by them? Because that's one of the things.
Wait a minute. Judges aren't appointed.
Yes, they are.
They're elected.
Well, that's a good theory, Tim. I like your optimism.
They're on the ballot when I vote.
Yeah, but how did they get to be an incumbent without first being elected? Right?
I don't know.
So there's a big game they play. They don't leave on their election cycle. So they retire before their term is up. And then the governor gets to appoint them. And that's been the normal mode of operation. Very few come in and finish out their term and then, go through the subsequent election to elect the replacement.
What's the election then? Just a lipstick and a pig again?
Well, technically the law says they're to be elected, but there's also this process of when they choose to retire versus when their term ends. And the vast majority are leave before the term, and the governor gets to appoint them.
Wow.
Yeah. And then again, you're looking, are they appointing people based on their competency? Nope. Political theory and background. And it's really sad. So now you've got, right, they don't believe in bail. So look at the next piece that's leading into this crazy lawlessness environment we're at. We got multi-time convicted felons committing more felonies with weapons, without weapons, carjackings, and receiving little to no punishment. And now the only prosecution we've seen at the highest level is at the federal level. We got Lugar here, right, the U.S. attorney, actually doing some prosecutions. Well, why would we have to offload our criminal prosecution to a federal agency when we have all of the tools at the local level and at the state level? And certainly our attorney general could work to enforce those laws or to lead the prosecutions. And so are they doing that only for the sole purpose of to protect Walls in the administration? That it's not a Minnesota-based led process to enforce our laws? Because it could be detrimental to the election?
I'm just sitting here wondering, is there another show, another podcast, another couple of guys sitting there talking about this way to the Republicans?
I don't know. Yeah, I think there are a few. You know,
I mean, just think about it. We got two parts of this existence of plane, and we see it, and we don't see their way, and they see their way, and they don't see our way. How do you bridge that gap? Because that's the point of politics, isn't it?
Yeah. But unfortunately, most don't have to pay. Most don't have to pay attention. Life's been really good, right? So you go up, you show up to elections, and we all work really hard to get our message across.
Yes,
fortunately, if we had journalists doing their jobs, we'd be able to have a more open and effective dialogue to talk about are policies really working? So you're electing people that set policies.
Okay.
Well, look at the policies and the general policies that are in place today, or what are driving those changes. The disrespect for the rule of law at the governor's level, right? So many times we've heard that, well, I've been the first governor. Yeah, because it wasn't your role. And so he's celebrating it and we're not, because it's like, well, it wasn't your role to go out and to cherish the institution, how you set policies, all of those things in long term start to have impacts. And so we're starting to see the impacts of 12 years of Democrat leadership at the governor level in our constitutional offices. And look where we're at. And they only want to double down.
Oh, sure. Hit everything twice, and then we get what's left over, and we'll accept what we got.
Yeah. And think about what they want to do. Go back to the safety and security, which is literally the foundation of a great society. And Minnesota is a great state.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel terrible because there's people in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and say, well, everybody just get up and leave. No, you can't do that. They can't.
Sounds easy.
Uproot their families, uproot their businesses. We
Right.
need them to be safe and vital. And we know it's a small group of criminals, but they're vast and they're growing.
Well,
'Cause
remember,
we're incubating more criminals just because
we ain't stopping them.
well, there's no consequence, right?
Yeah.
These guys get out before the police get done doing the reports for violent. We're talking about people. The greatest concern is those committing violent crimes.
Like you said in our first segment.
Yeah,
You said, how did you put it?
creating a favor.
There is nothing California will do that I want to model against, which includes this. But one thing I do want to include is that the only thing I can say California is doing right is they're pissing off businesses and they're moving.
Yeah,
They're changing their gross capital of the state of California by simply saying enough.
yeah, and you've seen the outflow, and it'd be interesting to see. We've got a transition of our population as well. We've had almost no net growth in the last 2 years, but we've had certainly many businesses that have moved and uprooted. We've known a lot of high performers. I know in my own personal network, a lot of high performers are leaving this state because they can work anywhere and make good money, and most of them are moving to a no income tax state.
Well, South Dakota's looking pretty good, isn't it?
Everybody I know that has regional, from a family perspective, South Dakota, North Dakota are pretty attractive places to live.
Right.
Within hours of your family and no income tax state, and then you say, wow, but their sales tax is really high. South Dakota sales tax, about 4%. Then you say, well, the corporate income tax must be crazy. No, it's not.
Is it 4% really state tax?
Their sales tax is 4%. They don't have income tax. And so
all four of it, right? All at once?
Yeah. And then to say, wow, but it's really a terrible quality of life. Actually, pretty high quality of life, right? They have winters, right?
Oh, they have winters.
We have
well,
winters.
North Dakota has some winters. Holy crap.
So do we. And so you adapt. It's just fine.
4%. I'm giggling.
Yeah, right. And think about borders, right? Well, we go on a whole story on that taxation of what we used to do for borders, but borders from a state boundaries and tax policies, it used to be border cities from sales tax had impact. Well, now that's 100 miles in. If you're an implement dealer in Cambridge, Minnesota, you're selling stuff to North Dakota. You have the potential to do that. We got recreational vehicle dealers, and they can go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin will ship that stuff 50 miles. They'll ship it 100 miles, right? For their sales tax is a couple percent less than ours.
And that's a big number when you go. I mean, they had it in the RV world because I'm kind of an RVer.
Yeah.
If you bought a big coach, $200,000-300,000, they would start an LLC in another state like South Dakota, South Dakota.
It used to be Montana.
Montana, there you go.
Montana.
Yeah.
When I was at the Department of Revenue, it was Montana. Everybody licensed. Now those things are taken care of. You will pay that tax. If you buy a licensed vehicle, you will pay the excise tax.
Yeah, you're gonna.
No matter where you buy it. No matter where you buy it. But those policies, have impacts, and so we've got people outbound moving out of the state. And we're just not creating a healthy operating environment for businesses to continue to grow in Minnesota.
I feel that. I do feel that.
Yeah. Well, although we got lots of nonprofits, they're all...
Give the money we make away. Let's be a kinder, gentler Minnesota.
Yeah, we don't have time to talk about the stealing our future, or I'm sorry, feeding our future.
Yeah, right. Don't you know? I wasn't know if you're going to go there, but
yeah. Well,
let's because we're 22 minutes into this segment. Let's go to the Jensen one here. I don't want to bore everybody. Hopefully they're on a long trip and they're going, this guy's making a lot of sense. Either that or listen to the Democrat channel. I don't know. So you ready to talk Jensen in the next episode?
I'm game.
So for Hudcast, stand by. We'll be back momentarily. Now a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor in part by Excel Roofing. Excel Roofing. They do it all. Roofs, siding, framing. You need a house? Give Excel a call. I've used these guys personally in the past. Have a professional crew. They're conscious of your job, and they want to produce the finest quality of craftsmanship available. Excel Roofing, 763-712-0757. Again, 763-712-0757. Excel Roofing, Dayton, Minnesota. Back at you, Hudcast. Mark Cran, Minnesota Senator Mark. So we left the last one, which, holy cow, I'm going to call that segment Lawlessness. And we have an election coming up, and it's a pretty good election. And I've had Dr. Scott Jensen on the show twice. He rocked it. He was absolutely stunning. Give us some input there.
Yeah, no, I think the election, you really look at the counter and the contrast of where we're at. There it hasn't been a single policy that the current administration has done and moved any of the challenges that we see, right? Whether you believe they're real or not, it moved and improved anything. We've spent billions more from a budget perspective. I think the budget's grown in the last 12 years, 70%, something like that. You look at all those things, and for me, I personally, is the only reason I'm here is I want transparency, accountability, to make sure at the end of the day, our job is to prove to citizens they get great value. And right now, they don't feel they're getting great value. They feel less safe, right? Their budgets are being crushed. And really, the governor has a pretty significant role in those things. Some things are national, but there's a lot of things that we do that impact your local, our quality of life and our cost of living. And from a Jensen perspective, Senator Jensen's been one. He's been leading in the, from a healthcare perspective.
Sure, that's
the
his
guy's
job.
Extraordinarily talented. He's smart as heck. He has a terrible diet.
What's he, Twix and Smarties all day?
Oh my God! I think his suit jackets, and I've always given him heat about it, I think are lined with tin foil and plastic because it keeps the half a dozen donuts that he needs to keep moving.
He's like, what, 86 pounds and 6 feet tall?
He has an unbelievable amount of energy that he has, because I think he's still doing surgery. He's a surgeon, right? A general practice doctor and surgeon. Wow. He's taught at the U, and so he's still doing surgery. And doing that and running, he's going all over the place. He has a great approach, right? I served with him. I came in 2016, and we both were elected in the same year. And I think he's been doing a good job. He's been trying to educate the public on what we do and this contrast between Governor Walz and that administration.
Yep.
And right now, we just saw the Trafalgar poll that came out in the last day. It shows him point up.
A point of what?
Above Walz.
Ooh.
And so the race tightened quite a bit.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they had another debate, not last night, I think the night before.
And they didn't air it.
The governor had pretty great terms. The one Minnesota term the governor keeps using, I think it means just him. It really doesn't talk about all one Minnesota as all of us as a collective, except for his word salads. But his word salads don't follow through in action. But yeah, his debate, right? He didn't want to be face to face. I think he's had 2 debates now. This is only the second one.
Look at it from his point of view. If you've been in office, you say, well, you want to debate me. So the new guy wants to come in and pick on the guy that's sitting there. But the guy who's sitting there already has it. So what does he have to do? He don't have to do nothing. He can sit on his ass.
He can hide. But you know what? As I do the forums and those things in my community, if you're serving, you should be able to run on your record. What's he going to run on?
Right.
You got no record.
And the new people coming in don't have a record.
Right. And you should be able to, if you're doing a great job, you should be begging for debates. You really should be. And you certainly should have open and transparent ones.
Sure.
And in this case, the
Televised ones.
The televised, maybe almost like in all of Minnesota, you'd want to do that.
When they squelched that was a problem for me.
And in this case, right, I'm not going to do it. They weren't going to do it. And so I was at the Farm Fest one.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, Governor Walz, got to see him. He's a hothead.
Oh,
right?
Big time.
And so he probably had to work pretty hard to not be a hothead. He's polished. He can say more emotionally and enthusiastically and not say anything all at the same time. Because he knows the average citizen doesn't get to track what has he done. And they feel it. And kind of amazing that many feel the pains and the pressures, but they don't understand what's driving it.
How to get there.
And I would argue he's utilizing, the agencies and, again, rulemaking and what they choose to enforce, what they choose not to enforce. Those things are driving your quality of life probably in 90% relative to people believe that it's like statute. All of those things that they're doing outside of statute or what they don't enforce and do enforce are more impactful in your life than anything that's truly statutory.
Let's talk about the second debate. Did you watch it?
I didn't get to see it. I got to see the highlights. Have been so busy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I suppose you're running too. So, I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Body language is a big thing for me. For me, it's not what you say, it's what you don't say. And it's how you don't say them. I get it. I read right through it. And he was kicking his hinder.
Well, he's trying to highlight what his record is. What has he done?
I mean, Jensen was kicking his hinder big time.
I know.
And I'm sitting there watching him, and you could see Waltz has a tail. He has a tick. And when he starts squinting the right eye and the left eyebrow goes up, you got him.
Yeah.
So just watch his facial expressions. And then his body language, he starts shifting his weight from side to side. Oh, I'm just like micro expressions watching this guy.
And then what he says hasn't matched his actions, right? Well, think about his argument. He's now a tax cut governor. Well, that's interesting.
Because he wasn't.
He never proposed a tax cut in his life. And so any of the tax cuts, of course, were certainly driven by the Republican Senate for his terrible spending, right? And all of the key things that he's taking credit of, the middle income tax cut, that was the Senate, right? Minnesota, the Republican Senate. We stopped all of the tax cuts. He's now for eliminate the taxation of Social Security. Well, that's interesting. Both
weren't they a tax to begin with?
Dayton and Walz for the taxation of Social Security for our seniors. We cut in 2017. We cut half. We cut about $300 million. It was about half of what the Social Security was. The biennium collection of tax.
Okay.
$600 million. We cut half of it. So if you were in like $75,000 in income or less, your Social Security is not taxed. That's true today. But now that half is $500 million being extracted from our seniors for the taxation of the Social Security. And so now he chose to adopt our tax plan, of course, because it was election year. But what they didn't,
how convenient.
What they didn't follow is, even though Dayton signed and wanted, he signed that tax cut, they also wanted it back. They wanted it back, and Governor Walz wanted it back. They want that reestablished. They want a bloated government that spends too much, and they wanted it back.
Well, let's do this. Let's not go too far into that. I still want to stay on Scott.
Yeah. Okay.
So tie that to Scott now.
Well, I think Scott, when he ran, right, I think he's in a perfect spot. Mm-hmm. He has got a broad-based business experience, right?
Yep.
Health, cares about people, right? And
running mate's good. And he did a pair up.
Yeah, and he has a enough experience without it being long term, right? His political agenda, he pushed the right, pushed the left. He learned a lot, right? He learned that, hey, he thought many things could be bipartisan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He learned that sometimes you get educated. All of us do.
Sure.
But to me, that positioned him well. We need somebody that's going to look and analyze and make sure that we govern for the majority of the people.
Govern, not dictate.
Yeah, and for the majority of the people, we work with the legislature. We make sure that we get back to and stop this crazy stuff that's being imposed in our schools. Value in law enforcement. How would you step forward in a leadership role? Say the riots reoccur when they just randomly pop up with Antifa that I've heard many people tell me they don't really exist. It's odd. They seem to burn down our cities a couple times already.
They own a match.
Yeah. But I think he's been working really hard. He's been all over the state. He's been doing in the metro area. He's been working every population.
Yes.
Not just select ones. And he's been working his tail off. But I don't know that there's a policy out there that we don't have an opportunity to work as a legislature with what will be, I believe, Governor Jensen on November 8th. And
you said the words.
Yeah, well, I think
said the word. It's like a precog or something, right?
I think momentum is moving on our side.
You know what's going to happen now? Tom Cruise is going to come flying through the window because you're precog. Remember that movie? Was it Minority Report?
I don't know if I've seen that movie.
Oh, yeah. You start thinking of something, right? And all of a sudden, precog is you're going to do something before it happens, and they come and get you for doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, but you did that. You just went there.
Well, and I think across the board, when you look at education, Walls touted, right? Look at the policies, all of if you don't think that the crazy policies they implemented on the last virus, that those things couldn't happen again, you certainly think they would happen. I think
they happened.
Former Senator Jensen and new to-be governor, you're going to look at and actually utilize medical science to make those decisions.
Right.
You're going to use the best logic possible to make those decisions. And that contrasts with Governor Walz. Governor Walz, I think it was the Let Them Play lawsuit about shutting down sports without any medical evidence. They've got the emails that shows that they've made these decisions to lock down without the medical science and the data to back it up. And in fact, then influence those frontline commissioners and everybody else that would be their messengers, along with all the media, to enact policies that the negative outcome is going to impact us for years and years.
Right.
To remove and strip 2 senior classes of their graduation and their ceremonies and all of those things that are foundational at that point in their life.
Let's go to this conversation of they beat him up pretty bad. How would I say it? They beat up Scott pretty bad about his Roe v. Wade thing, right? And
yeah,
he wants to kill your babies and he wants to do this, and it ain't even close to that. If you listen to him, he's been on the show twice, and he's got a pretty straight approach.
Yep.
I mean, he's not anti-abortion, but he's not kill him either. I mean, I get where he's coming from.
Right. And they're again, it's the only thing that they've got. And the amazing part is that it should have always been a state's issue. And in Minnesota, it actually has been adjudicated as it should be at our Supreme Court. And so, yes, that's a protected right in Minnesota. And that's not going to change. There's no bill in the Minnesota legislature is going to change it regardless of the composition. And even, right, I think at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we value life. How do we make sure and make sure everybody understands? I think Senator Jensen talked about, right, the birth control. There are ways that you can prevent an unwanted birth, right, or a pregnancy. There's 2 people that play a role in that, and then make sure that we really support families and those that are in the situation.
You said there's 2 people that play a role in having a baby?
Yeah.
Are you assuming genders?
Yeah. Well, I am. I want to follow the science.
Wait a minute now.
I want to follow the science.
Don't you do my pronouns for me?
I'm probably the only Republican senator who uses my pronouns on the Zoom when we were all Zoomed.
Nice.
And my pronouns were DNA / the equal sign, as if we're almost indistinguishable through our DNA, because we're the human race, and
human race, not racists.
All of this
human race,
other garbage is to focus on re-racialization, segmentation, and really creating anarchy through to our society, within our society.
Well, I hit up Scott on the show when he came in Champlin last time. And I says, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I got to be up there." I said, "I know. You're like 2 miles from me. You want to do one?" He goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And I says, I don't want to come out of the shoot. He just gets on the show and he's all relaxed. And I says, "So Roe v. Wade." And I could hear the air go, the microphone. But he nailed it.
Well,
He just, so when people on Hatebook, and I moderate 9 pages, so I see a lot of stupid shit.
you call it hate book, I call it fascist book.
Fascist painted, so yeah. And they start, "Well, he's going to kill everybody because," oh no, dude, you don't even get it. And so then I just throw a link on there to the show he was on.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Look at that. Well, let's talk about the policies, the extreme policies. We want to preserve life, right? And we've got to, as a culture, as a society, we've got to make sure we support families and women with children and get back to families with healthy father roles in them. Those are the things
That'll never happen ever again. You know that.
it's where we appear to be trying to erode the family, regardless of who you are. Yes. I don't like it, and we know society will not improve
Ever. It'll never be the same as it was.
I know.
So how do you look forward and go, we have our idealistic ways as Republicans. We have wishes, maybes, wants, and they have theirs. And I don't want to go with they versus us, but we really do have different outlooks.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I think that's partly most of people who share our values. They just want to be left alone, right? They want to live their life. They want to run their business. They want to create a great family life
until they want you to believe their way.
And right now, you would like to believe that used to be an option. Now you will only be free to comply. And so they're not going to leave you alone in every way, shape, and form. Look at every single thing they're touching you, to your bank account, to what you choose to buy, what you choose to, if you buy a purchase or do business at an unauthorized store. That's what we're looking at.
How about this one? If you are a gun store and your bank does not like you,
right,
they will close your account because you sell guns.
Right. Yeah, and again, the corporate world and these guys utilizing or implementing, this is all through this ESG garbage. And what that is a set of terms and conditions of blackmail, and which change on a whim, by the way. And then you're going to decide that, you are going to be allowed in the economy or you're not because you fail to comply. This is disgusting. It really is. And so it's that segregation, DEI, you name all of these terms that shouldn't even be in our dialogue. Now, respect, right? Honor, right? All those things, they should be in our dialogue. But all of these other divisive things, because on an element that you don't control, right? The melanin content of your skin, for some reason, that's the determining factor of your mere existence. It's just garbage. We were so far beyond that, and we're still the best country in the world. Doesn't matter who you are. Opportunity to achieve is there and available. Now, does that mean we don't have challenges, right? Look at the education system.
Oofta.
We became, right? This is another, again, I think Jensen Walls, the contrast is going to be, we're going to try and go after the root cause. All Walls has done, in fact, that whole education system with Walls, the teacher, right? He's been a teacher. Look what they've done. We've become, they always used to tell us, you want to tear apart the school. No, we don't. We want great schools. We want a great education, and we want all energies focused on education. But we've got the lowest performance or the greatest divide between young black and brown kids than anywhere in the country. And we spend more than more than most people in any country on a per pupil basis. And so nobody wants to try and go after the root cause. How do we get a healthy male role model? How do we identify those kids and make sure they have a structure? We've got dozens and dozens of nonprofits. We've got entities all able to do that.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's certainly for government and many of the nonprofits that they live off that dependency base. So that's their fuel. And so they want, right? There's an entire industry. I've said forever, long before I ever even considered running. That industry lives on fuel. Their dependency is their fuel. And there's more people.
Their mental currency. Yeah.
Yeah. There's more people working to keep them oppressed under the guise of kindness, compassion, and all these things.
Sure.
Than those of us working to create an environment where you're free to and have the opportunity to achieve.
Yeah, well, sound like a liberal there.
Yeah. No, everybody has, it's hard to hold down the human spirit. but they've done a pretty good job, especially in this segment. And they tell them you can't, you're less than. That's all garbage. It's all garbage. And
it places you in position.
And by the way, the immigrant, right? We talk about the immigrant. I'm third generation U.S. born. We're all immigrants.
Sure.
So, and to say, right, we do believe in legal immigration, but to say that, somehow we're going to then segment and differentiate, and heck, they want to discriminate in government policies, right? I think the federal level got shut down because they're going to do a farm policy that only gave based on your melanin content. That's just, it's so unconstitutional. Shouldn't be.
Right. Well, back to Scott. Back to Scott on this. I have not seen not even a whisper or hair of him caring about what color you are, what race you are. And
you know what? He's been fearless.
Yes.
He's gone everywhere. So Tim Walz, where did he go?
He's got it already. He doesn't have to work hard.
Did he only go in the safe environments when a handful of their activists show up and they're going to go in there and they're going to promise more and more and deliver less and less every day to that very population? That's what they've done for decades. And so, but Scott has been fearless. He's gone everywhere. The hard conversations, everywhere in every part of the state, in the metro area, right, the poorest of the areas. He's doing it, and he's going to continue to do it. The guy's got a heart of gold, right?
Yes, for sure.
Works hard. There's nobody going to outwork the guy. And then we can surround him as a legislature. We can have somebody, and we have to move. You got to make sure we earn everybody's trust, because that's really what it's about. Do we believe there's change necessary? Yeah, we got to get back to the foundational elements. A great energy policy, right? A great school policy to support the children, to go after the root cause and get us back into where we're starting to improve the statistical outcomes in test scores for everybody, and certainly those on the lowest economic tier. Because when you look at those and the lowest economic tiers that have where the greater disparities are, it really doesn't discriminate. Those that are in the similar environment, decision making, right, your family structure, all of those things, they have the same outcomes. And so we've got to make sure that we have a plan. And I know Doc will work with us on that, and to go after the root cause. And we're going to try some things new. We have to earn that trust from the citizens across the state, and we'll go through multiple election cycles to make sure we move those things that are transformational, that get back to the core root value of what made this country great. And Minnesota is one of the greatest states in the country. But we're not on a path that's going to help us preserve that long term. So
nutshell.
Yeah.
22 minutes into this one.
Yeah.
What do you want to know in 800 words or less?
I think the contrast is pretty stark.
Okay.
Is those that we're running against on the Democrat side, none of them are running on the record. Why not? Because they don't have any positive record to run on. Right. It's all hyperbole, whether they want to bring up abortion. That part is, think about the extremist view. They're fighting to allow abortion up to birth. Heck, even around the nation, they've talked post-birth. That should never be tolerated. That's an extremist view. We can't operate within
that's called murder.
Yeah, it is. But I think when you look at the policies across the board, we have to get back to Minnesota where people are investing. They're growing in Minnesota. We can keep the producers, and we're attracting people back into Minnesota. We haven't had any positive growth in the last couple of years. Certainly not great positive growth in the business side. And then our quality of life. I think the contrast there is we're going to respect law enforcement. We got to bring law and order back to the society, and make sure everybody has a role. Restorative justice, all those things are possible. But we can't do it and we will not allow, I guarantee you, will not allow a favorable operating environment for lawlessness across this state. And everything is foundational to that. We can't build and live the life we choose without that core value being, the direction being changed in it. So,
but let's respect ourselves before we.
Yeah, absolutely.
Value let's life. Start there.
Yep. And so I think we have a great opportunity, but everybody needs to show up. Everybody that shares our values knows somebody who hasn't voted. They need to bring them out to the polls. They need to actually be advocates and
engage them.
And engaging, and they know them better than anybody who's out there. They don't believe their vote matters. Their vote really does matter.
100%. It's not a primary big year either.
No. But remember, Tim, we have higher standards. So when you drag them out, we require a pulse. So Bring your friends and family and make sure they participate and encourage them that their vote really does matter. And I think they'll see a stark contrast in
Mark,
how we.
Another awesome show, Mark.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
It's just like, I learned so much when I listen to you. We got to like just every week or something.
It's the greatest thing we get to do is share our knowledge of what we do, in the environment. And we're blessed to be here.
Best of luck in your campaign. It sounds like you got it pretty wrapped up.
We're going to work hard.
Oh, okay. Hudcast did it again for you guys. And Mark, thank you again for coming in here. We had a lot to talk about, and wow, in the beginning of the show, I didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden here we got this format, and all of a sudden, pow, well, great job. But Hudcast will be back next week, and maybe we'll see if, maybe we'll get some Democratic senators in here. What do you think?
Go ahead.
I'll call Tim Wells personally and say, hey, come on down to Hudcast.
Well, it is a basement, and it's kind of in a hiding place, so he might consider it.
Well, it's a decommissioned missile silo, remember that.
All right.
My intro says that. Come on, man. So for Hudcast, thanks again. Be well, people, and vote. Vote often. And that's a wrap for Hudcast. Hudcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hudcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.